Since this is my first cross review, I may as well explain how these go. My cross reviews will consist of 2 mini reviews, and since these are just mini reviews, these views will be 3 to 6 minutes at best. Each mini review is going to be 3 minutes long within the video's time frame. So enough explaining, let's get into the first review. The first game I will be reviewing is This War of Mine, and boy oh boy, it's quite a cheery game. Many of the reviewers of this game have commented on the fact that it's a different kind of war game. Rather than playing as a soldier, you play as a band of civilians trying to survive during wartime. In order to survive, you have to manage your party's supplies, health, and well-being. During the day, you build and craft things for your shelter. You start out with a simple crafting table, which is needed to craft many things such as beds, stoves, moonshine stands, and many other things that are good for trading. By night, you choose one of your survivors to go out and scavenge for supplies, and how you get those supplies is up to you. You can look through the dirt and rubble for whatever you can find, or you can do whatever it takes for your party's survival and be ruthless. But it doesn't make much difference really. No matter how you get those supplies, it will take a toll on your survivors, mentally and physically. Especially mentally if you have a survivor who has killed people. If you don't take care of your survivors, bandits will walk all over you and take your stuff. The group will fight amongst each other, some will leave the group and steal supplies, some will even take their own lives. Mechanically, this game is nothing new. We've seen many survival sims and most of them have zombies or some fantasy element to them. In terms of story and setting, it's quite unique. It gives players a whole different perspective on war in general. We've seen a skewed perception of war in many shooters, and I say skewed for a reason because I really doubt any shooters besides Spec Ops: The Line have portrayed the horrors and ramifications of war, while other shooters such as COD portray war like this. There's no gray moral dilemma. Much like Commando, it's just good guy versus bad guy. And the bad guy is always either European or Muslim who always wants to blow shit up because insert cliche bad guy motive here. COD tries to make you feel like a hero. This, however, will make you feel a wide range of emotions. The game may paint a very ugly looking picture of humanity most of the time, but at times it can show you the best of humanity. What's funny though, no matter how sad or depressing this game can be, I thought it was pretty fun to play. Thanks to the mechanics, most of the time it feels like the game mechanics and how you decide to play creates your own story for you. In one playthrough, one character Roman, whose main trait was combat, he was my main guy. He was the guy who went the limit. He went and killed bandits and sometimes was a bandit himself, and did whatever it took to survive. It felt like Roman was carrying the group, but stress got the better of him, and because of that, he was killed in combat. Every time I played This War of Mine, it never felt like I ever won in that game. You're barely just getting by most of the time. Crafting things takes a chunk out of resources and requires sacrifice. You have to think about long-term investments and the risk every time one of your survivors goes out scavenging. It's quite the most unique gaming experience I've had in a while, and I was so glad I bought it at launch. I would wholeheartedly recommend This War of Mine. It's only $20 and has hours upon hours of replayability. It goes without saying, but this is a well thought out and well designed game, and I think it's up there with the top 10 games of last year. Papers, Please, much like This War of Mine, isn't fun in the conventional sense like most games are. In Papers, Please, you work at an immigration checkpoint looking over passports, papers, and documents. So you're basically a paper pusher. You look through many people's passports and papers to find any discrepancies and determine whether or not they're okay to go through the checkpoint or not. If you overlook it and flunk up, you will get a penalty from your supervisor. The first 2 penalties are mere warnings. After 2 penalties, your supervisor will start docking your pay, which is bad because you need as much funds as possible to take care of your wife, son, uncle, and mother-in-law. When I said This War of Mine was fun, it was purely because of how well designed the game mechanics were. In Papers, Please, much like This War of Mine, its game mechanics are well designed and is functional. But since you're working at an immigration checkpoint in a totalitarian country, if you played it for a significant amount of time, it will start to actually feel like work, which is obviously intended by the developers. When you get pissed off because you overlook on little details, that's intentional. When you do your best and manage to go through the day without a single penalty and still don't have enough to provide for your family, that's intentional. So, much like this War of Mine, it has an interesting story and setting, but Papers, Please is the most unique in terms of game mechanics. I mean, look at it. What genre would you label this game under? Is it a puzzler? A life sim that showcases how mundane most people's jobs are? I guess you could go by what it tells you on the Steam page. Overall, Papers, Please is a very unique game. Much like this War of Mine, but I can say with full confidence that Papers, Please is the most unique. It's a very interesting game overall and showcases a different time. While this game is interesting, I'm finding it very hard to recommend it as a game. It's only $10 on Steam, which is a good matching price for a game like this, to say the least. But if you're looking for a game that's fun, I wouldn't recommend it. While it is well designed and thought out and is functional, it's still not a very fun game overall. Unlike this War of Mine, if you're in that boat, I would at least give it a try if you know someone who has it, or maybe buy it when it's on sale. But if you're looking for a game with interesting game mechanics, story, themes, and setting, then I would recommend it. It may not be that fun of a game, but I do give it credit for telling a grim dystopian tale with interesting game mechanics.